We are live. How is everyone?
Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing?
How's it
Good.
going?
Good. I think you're a bit out of breath, aren't you, Jerry?
Yeah, sorry, I just ran from one call to this one, so yeah.
How have you been? How's your week been?
It's only Tuesday, isn't it? It's busy, very, very busy.
Is it?
What about you, Paul? It feels like I haven't spoken to you in ages.
I know. It seems like we've all been hiding, but no, very good. Thanks. Very good. Been very busy. I've been putting things together. Saying to John that at the moment it's getting the right balance of working on your business rather than in your business. You know, doing the exciting stuff rather than the boring, important stuff. But I feel like I know what I want to do now. So just trying to get it all together. Which is good. And
What about you, JP?
Good. I bought a pub. I bought a pub.
Life is good, eh?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not me drinking in. So yeah, just a pub in Bonnie Hartlepool. Turn into seven little apartments, little one bedders, just behind the nice shiny new college. So getting some students in. So yeah, massive health kick. I know it's only 2 to 3 weeks, but I'm sticking to it. I've lost about 11 pounds since Boxing Day.
wow.
So I'm 6 days a week training. I mean, I'm an all or nothing sort of a guy. I'm addictive. That's probably why I've got more injuries than a bloody crash test dummy. But just chuck myself in, training like generally 6 days a week, tend to have a Sunday off. Diet well, fasting 5 days. So last meal's at 6:30. Eat nothing till about dinner time the next day. So it's not a big miss. There's just no late night snacks or brekkie. And then I have a protein drink with a meal, but the meal's like a good portion of protein and veg. And then the meal on the night time is exactly the same: protein drink, good bit of protein, veg, and carbs. So you're getting one meal of carbs a day. And then once you maintain your weight and your metabolism's all firing, and then your body's like sort of stoking the fire a little bit, that's when you can start having your breakfast. So it's not like some people go on diets and it lasts 2 minutes and then you're back to normal and you put the weight on. If you didn't do this consistently and you didn't get your body metabolism up and whatnot, then you went back to eating 3 meals a day. You just put a bit of beef on. But it's also about portion control. I realised I ate far too much. 2 plates of dinner like that a night.
What benefits have you seen? There must be other benefits.
Straight away, well, obviously the weight loss.
Yeah.
Because of the weight loss, little injuries are gone. Because of the training, I used to get basically the best way to describe it is a frozen shoulder, like maybe a nipped nerve. But because I'm training and in between sets, I'm literally just hanging like a monkey off the bars, just like dead hanging. So I'm doing that probably maybe 5 to 10 minutes a session, 3 to 4 times a week. Shoulders fine, absolutely perfect. Knees fine, where they used to be a little bit cold on a morning, like getting up. Just daft little things. Tell you what, on a morning you wake up. I've always been an early riser, as you guys know. But when I get up, it's as if I've been up for 2 to 3 hours.
Clear.
Just clear, just bang, really clear. So yeah, other than the immediate sort of losing weight benefits, there's so much health benefits other than that can come from it as well. And I'm spending less on food, so the cost of living crisis.
Oh, good. I feel like an absolute dosser after all that.
Well, Rob Brady did point out that really good car reg. Tremendous, that.
Did you not see it was parked in a disabled bay though? Like badly parked as well.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I hate that. My pet hate people that are not disabled parking in disabled bays.
Yeah. I won't do it again, I promise. So what we're going to chat about this week, gentlemen?
I think Jerry is going to start us off on a conversation that I want to join in.
Yeah. So it's about AI. So probably, I'd imagine a lot of agents know about it, but some don't. Something called ChatGPT is an AI tool that's actually pretty good. If you've used it, it's very good. It's decent. And there's some people in content and copy and marketing in general who see it as a massive threat. And I think it is a threat for writers that are kind of like average. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's like anything in life. Like Amazon Prime was a threat for shops that offered average experience with commodities. So I think it's a threat from there, because you can tap in things like, I don't know, write me a blog about how to deal with noisy neighbours, and it will write you something that's decent enough, a bit American. Neighbours will be spelt without the U, not in our sort of way. But I think some estate agents as well have recognised that there's an element of risk to estate agents, because it might take away from their expert opinion and expert voice, because people might, not now they won't, it'll probably take a couple of years, but might tap into an AI. How do I sell my home in, I don't know, Cleethorpes or Brighton? And the AI comes up with some stuff that renders the actual estate agent
obsolete.
But I do think there's opportunities as well. I do think there's plenty of opportunities to use it as a really good research tool. You can do lots of automation. Apparently, it can gather stats and stuff like that. I don't know how, but yeah, it's the big buzz in the content marketing world at the moment.
Yeah, we've been using it for the last couple of weeks. So for a lot of our ad copy for adverts, I think where it works well is it's great to give you ideas. So if you've got sort of writer's block, or you want some ideas, and you can actually the more information you can give it, the better the results I've seen come back. So if you've already got that content, whatever it is, it's an article or it's blog or whatever, and you say rewrite this, and even say rewrite this in the style of, that's where we've seen some really good results. It does improve things and give you different versions to consider. But like all of these things, as you mentioned, Jerry, is that you do need to check it. It lacks expertise, and also you always will need to check it. I think it's definitely going to help, and it saves time. That's the other thing I have noticed, is that some of the things that took us a lot longer, it's a great place to start, give the information, and then it will save you time where you can come in and obviously finish the job off. Yeah. So I think saving the time is going to be the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think as well, like you said there as well, you have to put the time into giving it the right information for it to, because it can code as well. Apparently, it can fix code.
Yeah. I've heard what I heard. It can write Excel sheets. It can code JavaScript. It can really go quite far for you. But like you say, you have to check all these things. But yeah, the other things that it can do, which I think anyone watching, which would be really useful, is that it can take your articles and it can rewrite them for SEO, so to increase your SEO levels. So there's things like that.
Did you know something though, Paul, that Google is can work out that it's automated, artificial intelligence, and it's marking them as spam.
Oh, is it? Interesting. Yeah.
You know, and that's not because Google are looking after us as human beings. It's not that at all. They couldn't give a shit if the world was controlled by Metal Mickey, R2D2, and C3PO. What they want is, they're thinking, oh my God, why would people come and search certain things for us if they can just jump on this AI and get a better answer?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is that Google and Apple and Microsoft are all to release their own AI. So
it's already been released. Google have been involved in this for years. So as everyone, most people know, we're building some prospecting software, and part of our competitive advantage is we're bringing in artificial intelligence to the actual software itself. So effectively, every call, inbound and outbound, will be recorded. It will then be transposed to text, and then that text will be scored based on various things, such as certain words asked, certain probing questions. In fact, I've got the feasibility study here that we've done. And I'll just give you, by the way, the tech is already out there that does this. Call introduction effectiveness, call closing effectiveness, number of closed questions asked, number of open-ended questions asked, number of questions asked by the customer because it indicates engagement, tone of voice, buying signals acted on, call sentiment, don't even know what that means, but it sounds good, use of advanced sales techniques, blah, 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 call duration, use of banned negative connotations. So the basis, you don't build your own AI, you just use it. The big word in the AI space is collaboration. So Google have got something called TensorFlow, which is the basis of their AI. And all we're going to do is just piggyback on the back of that. It's scary what it can do. For 2 years now, Google have had the ability, because I've listened to it, an AI answers a call. And it can have a reasonable conversation, but as soon as you ask it a question, it'll have 2 or 3 phrases. That's a very good question, Jerry, because it's already asked your name. I'm not sure the answer. I'm just going to put you through to my manager, Paul. He's on the other end. He wasn't. He's doing his work, but he gets a call.
And that's out there already. I've had those
2 years
calls.
ago, that was out there.
You know what, I do see some brands going down the route of, and I said this in a blog that I've done, going down the route of almost, you know, like you've got B Corp and Fair Trade and there's Green Dot for sustainable. There'll be brands, I think, will do stuff, you know, like this is human made, or this is by humans for humans. But I do think a mix of both is perfect. You know, like donkey work, let the robot do it, because the robot ain't going to be asking for overtime. But the stuff that really matters, the creativity or the human stuff or the empathy, you know, that's needed from an estate agent during a transaction and that sort of stuff. I think that's always going to be humans until the robots take us all over and we're just slaves.
Yeah. And by then, Cyberdyne Systems are go. You know, I think the one thing that AI will never get, will never, I can't see it at the minute, is having that community focus, that community voice, because it doesn't know, you know, Fred the butcher's been there for 50 years. It doesn't know that the laundromat shutting down, or it doesn't know about the new housing estate. And well, I could find out about it, but it wouldn't be able to put into words the community sentiment.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be able to put in the fact that you went to the school, so you know the teacher or whoever. That
touch, One of my members described it as like, it's the meat on the plate and all the stuff that you do around it is the gravy, the potatoes and the vegetables. So you can use it as the core stuff, but it's like like you said there, the knowledge stuff, the real insider knowledge stuff is going to be down to the agent, or it's going to, I mean, this isn't just agency, this is everything it affects. It affects everything. So
you see what was valued at?
Isn't it?
27 or 28 billion.
Yeah.
Unofficially, I heard it, because they're going to take it to IPO.
This is just ChatGPT we're talking about, not in.
It's been launched October?
Yeah. It does have like, and it'll catch up. But at the moment, if you tap into it, who won the World Cup, they don't know, or they still think Boris Johnson is the Prime Minister.
I think the data's a year behind, isn't it?
It's a year behind, which gives people an advantage. Humans, I mean, people, a little bit of an advantage until they work out how to do it instantly. So it's crazy time. We live in interesting times.
Tell you something else, where it'll really put people on is those call answering services, out of hours call answering. When the technology catches on, you know, especially if it can think about tonality and anger and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, you might need somebody, a real person, taking the 1 out of 50 calls that is an emergency, like the house is on fire. But the rest can be sort of answered, put back. It's going to put a lot of people out of business, potentially. Call centres are shite anyway, the majority of them.
Yeah, but can you imagine, you know, like there's some people that don't like the idea of having an overseas call centre.
Yes, I agree. I know what you're going to say.
People that might absolutely want to smash the phone up if you say, oh, it's going to be a robot, you know that.
But it depends what the accent is.
Yeah, this is Geordie robot.
Yeah, man. Beep, beep, nod, nod.
That AI will never understand the Geordie accent.
No one understands the Geordie accent anyway.
That's that with the day that AI finishes.
Yeah, it is quite because we're looking into it. Listen, my business partner on the tech side, he's very geeky at this, and He's done a pretty, like I say, impressive feasibility study, and he's blown away by it. I mean, he says he's read 25 to 30 years time they will be able to think for themselves. And the only reason they can't at the minute is in order to get an answer out, it needs to be fed in. Once the answer to every question is fed in, it starts thinking for itself. He says that's when the ethical constraints about it. And he said,
"Oh, sorry, Johnson. I do remember last week as we were talking about Facebook. They turned on an advanced AI level probably about 2-3 years ago. They turned it off after about 24 hours because it started thinking for itself, and they couldn't work out what it was thinking. So that's where the barrier is."
But maybe that's good though in one way, because if they become more like us, they'll be ringing in sick. Do you know what I mean? They'll be going, "Oh, don't fancy this one little bit at the moment." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, if the footy's on a Wednesday night, it'll call in on a Thursday morning.
Yeah, they'll cut corners. They'll just It's like it's crazy. But there's an opportunity.
So long as there are very, very strict parameters about the decisions and the way it's applied, because what you don't want to do is it to, well, maybe you do to a certain extent. I'm thinking about decisions that are life or death, like surgery or consultation, or is it worth putting your 85-year-old grandma on the table, on the operating table, because she might not come through? A surgeon might say, "You know what, we'll risk it. It's 50-50." An AI might take into account the financials and and nope, not going to do it. And then it's a bit of an extreme exaggeration. It depends really if you like your grandma or not. But I think you've got to keep it away from certain decisions.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, but that's what worries me, because the ethics, human beings, man, we ain't got good previous.
No, definitely not.
The most destructive animal on earth. Anyway. Yeah.
So, John, this leads on nicely to your topic of how to be more productive.
Yeah, just use the eye.
Oh my God.
So what I've decided to do was, because if nothing else, I am an absolute master at being productive and delegating and all that sort of jazz. So I just thought, I've just recently bought a pub, I've started a couple of new businesses and blah, 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 all that sort of jazz, doing this company. And people say, how do you do it all? So what I'm going to do in my group is, and I'll start posting in your groups, is literally the 12 most common ways, or the best ways I've found to be more productive. And the first one, and I'm going to do just over the next 12, 14 days. You're not going to have to wait like a year. But the reason I sort of structured it like that is, we'll do one, people can save it or print it off or copy and paste it into Word, master it for 28 days, and then in February you do another one. Then in March you do another one. Because depending on what stats research you read, it takes about a month, 28 days to 30 days to become a habit. So one of the big ones for me is, don't have an employee mindset. Right. Now, I'm always banging on about being a CEO and all that sort of jazz. Well, an employee, just say it does enough. And I'm generalizing, because no doubt you guys and some people watching this and listening will have really good employees that go the extra 9 yards. But in the main, employees are 9 to 5ers. They might be brilliant between 9 to 5, but they're just 9 to 5. They also exchange time for money. So, the only additional income they can earn is overtime. That's it. But it's exchanging time for money. Well, as a business owner, we want to exchange value for money. And that value doesn't have to be created by us, our employees. The business can generate that value. So this is more of a mindset thing rather than an agency thing. It's just a pure business thing. So if we develop or we offer value, then people will pay for it, and they'll continue to do so. So one of the things that I just want people to start thinking about is don't think like you've got a job. Start thinking as though you employ other people to do that job for you. Because when you get out of the business, you've got that whole holistic view, and you can see, one of my clients is well, I won't mention the names because I haven't asked for the permission, Jerry, but you know who they are. And she's got out from 5 days a week working in the business to working on the business 2 days a week from home, and they don't bother her. And this is only in the last 3 or 4 months, and the strides forward she's made in marketing and valuations and managing the team and the staff is probably about 4 or 5 years what she would have done had she, in fact, she might never have done it. So the first tip I want to give everybody is get out of that employee mindset. If you're doing the valuations and you're doing the accounts and you're paying the landlords and you're doing X, Y, Z and you're doing everything, you're an employee. If you're doing it, but you know you shouldn't, then the mindset shift has changed from being an employee. You just don't know. You haven't got that clarity. And, you know, going on your groups and going on my group and reading what people post about how to change from being, you know, in the business to on the business is definitely where you need to be. But yeah, so that's my first main tip about being productive is just stop thinking like an employee, start thinking like a business owner.
Do you think that a lot of agents struggle with that because they started as an employee and it obviously...
Yeah, it's a bit like the majority of agents I see, you know, myself, I'm an exception, as the odd exception is they started working as an employee in another agency and then they set up their business. What have they got to compare it to?
I was going to say.
Jerry had his own business. He had the removals. So he had a bit of an advantage on us. And he also got literally probably the best looking coach on the planet with amazing hair to help him for a while, right? So he was at like a complete unfair advantage from day one. No, but, you know, Jerry, joking aside, he had run a successful removal van business. So he had the knowledge and the experience of what it takes to run a business. And also, more importantly, he'd screwed up with certain things, messed up. And you know yourself, you mess up, you know what not to do in your next one.
Yeah. That's true. It's very true. What about you, Paolo? What have you been doing? You're sort of like just like sitting there with your polo neck. Is that polo neck?
No, it's a zip.
Zip top.
It's
So if you zip it up, that would be a polo neck, right? Sort of.
Could be. It could be. It's the 30, 40-year-old dress code. Everyone's got one. So yeah, I just something I want to talk about. I've been doing a lot of training with agents at the moment, and one of the things that I keep hearing is that Facebook and social media is pretty much sold out now, and they're always quite surprised when I mention that. So with regards to being sold out, we mean that, you know, Facebook's got all, and it's not just Facebook, it's most of the platforms. They've got all these personal post sitting the platforms. They've got businesses putting organic content on their pages. They've got adverts. And I think agents often think that their post should be seen by everyone. But unfortunately, as businesses, we're always going to be at the bottom of the exposure list, you know, with those platforms, free exposure. So it's really thinking about how you put that content onto social media compared to what you're doing elsewhere. So if you're putting content out on email or on your websites or wherever, you're talking to everyone. But when you're on social media, you've got to remember that these platforms are a platform for engagement, you know, socializing. And Facebook and the platforms aren't going to pay any attention to sort of normal business content, you know, on those platforms. You've got to get that engagement. You've got to get people commenting, liking, sharing. And often agents don't do that. They just replicate what they're using off the platform. So we did a bit of training the other week where we gave some tips on this, and it really is about looking at the way that you're putting your content on the platforms, because if you're just putting it on there to provide value, and people will probably read it and just walk away, that's not the right way. You know, you've got to be looking for those comments, likes, shares, and perhaps trying to get people to do that by asking opinions, asking questions in the content that you're putting on there, and looking at the content you're putting on there. And one of the biggest tips that we gave, which I don't think enough agents do, is getting clients involved. You know, the easiest way to get content shared on Facebook or any platform is to let the clients know that their property's gone on that platform and ask them to share it, and ask their friends and family to do the same. And most of them want that exposure, so they'll do that, and those friends and families will do that as well. So it was just really just to, you know, bring up the topic of looking at how you're putting content on social media compared to the other platforms that you might be using.
I read, or must have been beginning of last year now, it's call to action's gone now. It's call to engagement.
Yeah.
So it's trying to get those like
conversation. Yeah.
You
call to conversation. Yeah.
Well, if you know, well, you know, whenever I do, because I post quite regularly in the groups, and I always write thoughts, comments.
Yeah, I see
at
it.
the bottom. and it's always trying to get people. And another thing as well is either like, because it's a bit of a dopamine dump, isn't it? If people want to be liked and they want to know that their comment is liked, and they want to know their comment is hard or smiley face or loved or whatever.
Yeah.
So just if you write an article, always respond to people on your article. Yeah. Always like them. I mean, I've get people take the piss out of me or ha a lot, but I think it's quite funny because I'm a bit of a piss taker, and I put something on this morning about getting locked out of the house, and there's loads of people.
That was funny.
Yeah. It wasn't 9:15 this morning when I was literally
freezing as well. That's what made me laugh more, because I thought I was cold reading it because I was walking somewhere. I thought you're 300 miles out that way.
It was this top, and it's only a little thin Under Armour top. I was literally just jumping around, just trying to get warm. But just something like that. And if you've noticed, I've either commented on the ones that I feel you can't comment on everything. It's 40, 50, 60, 100 comments. But the ones that are like either asking a question, I tell you who's really good at this, Chris Watkin. Yeah. So if I ever post something, he'll always post something and says, "What do you think of this, John?" It's a really good idea, and he's clever at that, because what Chris does is, and it's a favour for me, because it's getting people, it boosts us up in the group. So you answering the questions, it makes the person feel good, but it boosts your.
Chris said a really interesting thing ages ago. He said more interesting things recently as well. But he said questions get answered, statements get judged. And
absolutely.
Always stuck in my head that. So yeah. You know what, lads? You're gonna hate me, right? I've got to pick Charlotte up at 2:45. I've just seen a text there reminding me. What time is it?
28
minutes. So you've got me for about another 5 minutes. I've been terrible today. I've turned up late and I have to go early. I'm basically a bad AI.
You're doing half a job. Well, what else have you got to talk about then, Joey? Should we get your second topic out of the way? Is there anything you want to talk about?
Second topic. What was my second?
Do you want to
driving?
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, you've got an event coming on next month, haven't you? Do you want to have a chat about that?
Oh, just quickly. It's like it's members only event at Brighton Amex Stadium. I've got the CEO of Brighton, Paul Barber, CBE or something like that. He got not knighted, but like Queen's honours. So he's going to come and have a chat with the agents that are there. We've got Asad Riaz and Vicky Babiris from Location. Luke Sinclair from Knightsbridge Estate in Leicester. And we've also got a special guest that I'll announce tomorrow. It's a robot.
PlayStation.
Twiggy Rogers, is it?
So I've got that. So yeah, and looking forward to that. It's a bit nerve-wracking because it's it's the first time we've done an event, but it's a good venue, Brighton Amex. Looking forward to hearing what this guy's. Brighton are flying high at the moment, so you talk a brand awareness, and that Brighton are pretty high up there at the moment.
Doing really well, aren't they?
They're doing really well. Very well managed club, and he's going to be sharing what it takes to. I think he runs like overseas, 500 staff, multi-million-pound budgets and incomes and all this sort of stuff. But how he's managed to and he's been there 10 years, get a culture within a huge organisation. That was the thing that I asked him to talk about most. So we're going to be doing Q&As with him. So yeah.
Good. Look forward to that.
Yeah.
What was the other thing you wanted to talk about, your second topic?
Oh, just really quickly, before my daughter just gets stranded. Driving footfall throughout the year to your office. Yeah, because people still have offices. And we came up with do it in 4 quarters. Say in the winter, you could do Christmas toy appeal in the run-up to winter. In the spring, food bank campaign. So you're doing it in quarters so you can organise your marketing around it. In the summer, was it in the summer? I can't remember what it was in the summer. But, in the autumn, it was collecting for coats. And, I think Agents Giving do this as well. There was a summer one. I can't remember. I think I'm getting a cold. My head's very fuzzy. But it was basically, have little campaigns. They take a little bit of organisation, but not much, just to drive literal footfall. So people will go, oh, Yeah, I like the sound of that. I've got some old coats. Where's your office again? Because I was amazed. And what sort of made me think about this was the other day I popped in to see our local agent, and he said a woman came in and she said, "Oh, I've lived in this town all my life. I've never noticed your shop before." And he said, "We've been there," I think he said, "since 1987. So what's that? That's long."
Yeah.
Yeah, and she'd never noticed it. It's down a little bit of a side road, but I think you've got a. It's the same like in the digital world. Do whatever you can to drive people to what you're doing, but the same in the real world as well.
I agree. Yeah. It's when people, the old adage of, do we go off high street or do we go high street? All things considered, where the footfall is will always be where the footfall isn't. It's just the additional cost. Can you make it get a better ROI? So, if you're in a serviced office and say it's £1,000 a month and you're in a high street and it's £2,000 a month, will your footfall give you £1,000 a month?
Yeah.
If you do sweet FA, probably not. But if you push people towards it, then you should get a better ROI on that. So yeah, good point.
Yeah, some good ideas there.
Sorry, is that all right if I go? I feel really bad because I was late.
Yeah, no, you don't. You don't. You've just come on, you've dossed up, and then you've.
I might have COVID. I feel a bit woozy. Right, I'll see you later. Sorry. Right.
It's always one that leaves early.
Oh, I tell you what, I don't know how he dares. Good. So, what else do you want to chat about?
I think that was a really good point by Jerry, by the way, about the footfall, because I was just thinking there that numbers definitely are down, compared to previous years on people visiting offices, and I'd love to know if other agents think that's wrong, if they've not really seen that. But I really do think that since COVID, and obviously we know why it did in COVID, but be interesting to see how many agree that numbers are definitely down and people are definitely using, other means now to communicate and talk to us. But I think looking at ways to bring people to your office is a really good idea. And in America and Australia, they do this a lot. They do this a lot. They set up these events, and a lot of it's repeat business. So clients that have already done business with them, they invite them to certain events, and obviously they have better weather in some of those countries, and they can do some of those things outside as well. But yeah, I think that's quite important.
Well, we had one of my quarterly masterminds. We got, I think I was telling you, a retail behavioural consumer expert on, Dr. Amna Khan. So she studies the high street, what's happening and what's not happening. So what she said was, and the research is quite clear, that you would have thought that after COVID, the high street would be dead as a doornail. It's actually across the country making a slight comeback. You're talking single digit, improvements. But people want to be out. People are sick of. I mean, how many Zooms do we have now? Nowhere near as much as we used to. People want that face-to-face interaction. I've got a meeting next week, and I give the chap a choice. Do you want to meet up or Zoom? He went, "Oh, let's meet up straight away." And we've both got to travel a good 20, 25 minutes to get to the meeting. But what Dr. Khan was saying was that it's the customer experience. So things like the environment. If you're working in a 1980s style office with blown vinyl wallpaper and your ceiling tiles are dodgy from where there's been a leak and it's a bit cold, forget it. You've got to make the environment the best it can be for you to work in, because you've got to make people want to be there.
Yeah.
And I've seen Michelle Gallagher's got an absolutely tremendous office. I think Azad's got one at location. Just think of all the really good offices. We have some really, really nice offices. We've got some that need a bit of a lick of paint. But look at the best agents, the best offices, and they are the ones that were created. That it starts at the beginning when you walk through the door. Create that customer experience for people. The smell of coffee. Have a really good coffee machine, not an 80 quid espresso. Yeah. So no, that's the advice I would be giving.
Yeah, no, I agree, totally agree. And I think also, finally, the other thing that I was just going to mention, I think as we always talk about, now's the time to really be making sure that you're connecting and staying in front of those clients that you've already dealt with, those buyers, sellers, landlords. So events, inviting those people to the office and looking at how perhaps you could involve those people, I think would be a really good idea as well with that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, listen, we've been on for nearly 40 minutes.
Yep.
How about we say thank you to everyone who's watched. Hope you've got some value from this. And again, if you've got any questions and you're watching this on repeat, just whack them in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer them. But thanks again for tuning in. I'll catch you soon, Paul.
Brilliant. Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you all. Bye-bye.